within even 5 minutes currently with the digital trends that we have here. So we have a branded market.
Yes.
How do we develop ourselves into brands that are going to stand out? You're going to be taking us through that by starting with what are the key elements of a brand. What is a brand, by the way?
So, the word brand, I learned this from my professor, Professor Maria from IE Business School. The word brand comes from a Germanic word that is brander, which means to burn in. And in those days, they used to burn in iron, the hot iron into cows, so they can be able to mark them. So the only way you could be able to identify these are my cows. So burning them. I think it's something that we've also seen in the African scene and traditions, where wanyama walikuwa wanapewa, ukitaka kujua ngozi wako ni yao, you give them a unique identifier. And so branding is not graphic design. Most people confuse it to be graphic design. Branding goes beyond that. It is setting unique identifiers that will be able to communicate who you are as a business, communicate your values, your promises, and your personality as a business. And most of the times, people perceive that branding is a logo, but a logo is part of the tool. It's like a tool that sets out your brand, and it's one of the identifiers whereby utapata, maybe if you're starting out, this is something very common, especially in kwa watu wa Central. Kwanza biashara anashikana, couple unashikana, anasema tutachukua your first letters, anaingia pale sheria house, you register your business. And when you talk about your brand, it goes beyond that thing. Unaweza kuwa umeita jina fulani, it goes beyond your logo. And I believe that as we go on, we'll be able to understand and clarify what are the key things and the key elements of how you set out your brand. So in a definition of what a brand is, it's a unique identifier of your business. Yes.
Wow. Branding is not a logo.
Yes.
What is it now in terms of key elements?
So the key elements, maybe I can just go to the very first one. You need to be very clear. A lot of people, when they're starting their brand, they don't even have values of their businesses. The key things they want to sell out to their clients. So you need to be very clear about your mission, about your vision, about the key areas you're going to focus on. Secondly, you need to be as consistent as possible. A lot of times utapata kuna watu wameanza biashara ikiwa na jina fulani. Maybe they have a certain color of their business. But when it comes to their coats, for instance, they have a different color. Their van has a different color. So for you to have a more effective brand, you have to be as consistent as possible in all the brand touch points. That goes also to the digital platforms, where now businesses are migrating from not just looking at branding as an offline asset, it's also an online asset. So when it comes to you as a brand, you need to be able to be consistent over time, so that you can be able to have a more immersive connection with your clients. Number 3, you need to be able to forge emotional connections with your clients. This is something that a lot of people don't get. And you'll find biashara mingi watu waga wanasema, okay, there's something that has been trending so much about the M-Pesa ladies. I think you've had it. Kuna watu wanasema na kwa attitude. I've experienced several of them. Tunaenda kwao unapata we have some issues with how they connect to you. So emotional connections is very important.
Yes, to a brand. We're talking about something also about a brand having a feel.
Yes.
Kindly take us back to that very point.
We were touching on the key elements. And one of the key elements that we were talking about is the emotional connection. I will just maybe highlight on, I believe you as Eric right now, the products you're using, day-to-day products, starting from your phone to the body lotion you're using. I believe you didn't just buy it. There was a point of emotional attachment that you had with the product. Mostly maybe because of the reviews you've had from other people or the reputation that brand carries along the way. For instance, when you talk about Apple products, they've been able to come out as quality products. And to some extent, kuna venye watu wanasema Apple, it's a symbol. Unaona pata hata covers za iPhone, mali hiyo logo iko watahakikisha imekatwa ndio. As long as unaongea na iPhone, mtu ajue ni iPhone. It's a status symbol kind of product. And we are able to, as human beings, we are able to interact with brands as in the very same way on how we interact with people.
Wow.
So the first perception you get on that product will go a long way. How they communicate their values to you, they also go a long way. How they lay out their advertising and marketing strategies will go a long way. So the point of brand connections is very important. Now I think most of the people think it's upon big brands to care on how they will connect with consumers emotionally, but hata pale kwa biashara ndogo, if you have a shop, you need to be very careful on how you handle people, because how you connect to them and relate with them. The services you offer, the products you offer are meant to have a passive kind of connection to your clients. It's so direct. Ni kama tu the first time akiingia atajua. Some time back we have been having like trips to different banks with my wife, and there's one specific bank aliingia akaniambia, I feel like my money is safer here because of how they've been able to lay out their plan, even the space design. And I was telling her, this is the power of emotion, the emotional connection they're giving to their clients. They are trying to communicate that it is safer for you to work with us. Your money is safe with us. Now this is something that should be considered, highly considered when you're setting out your brand. The other bit on key elements that you should consider as you're setting up your brand is having a unique selling proposition. What differentiates you from the market out there? Kuna watu wanasemaga nafungua hardware, but you have like 10 across the road. Maybe I want to start up my beauty shop, but you have like 20 across the road. What is it that sets you apart? For example, I'll give you a very good example. Maybe there's a lady who's starting up a beauty shop, and for her, she just wants to focus on African herbal products when it comes to beauty or cosmetics products that she's selling. And when she sells out her brand as an African brand, that is a unique selling point. Yeah, and a lot of brands nowadays, mtu anaanza tu juu anasikia this business iko na pesa, unaingia. Juu unasikia hii biashara iko na pesa, unaingia. You even embody other people's strategies, and you forget that you need to define your own brand and sell and set out a unique value proposition for your brand. The other key element, which it's not like mostly considered to be vital, and it's very vital. It's the element of trust and the reputation. Kuna saying nasemaga, it's better for you to build a good character and a bad reputation rather than have a bad reputation
and a bad character.
Yeah. So when it comes to brands, it's the other way around. Your reputation really matters. If brand yako imejulikana kwa umseuza vitu quality, and in today's world tuko mahali watu wanasema nipatie plug wako. Unapeana plug wako kwa sababu ya ile trust uko nayo na yeye. Number 2, ile reputation uko nayo pia na watu wengine. So as brands, as you're setting out your brand, you should embody on the value of having setting. It's a process. You building trust is a process. You need to be a trustworthy person. You need to carry ethical values. For example, there are certain saturated markets, come as a real estate. In the last couple of months, a lot of scandals in such a market. And for you, especially for people who want to penetrate in the real estate market, you need to come out very strongly in laying out a value of trust and good reputation. Yes.
Wow. Wow, thank you so much. I've learned something like that. People relate to brands just the way they relate to humans.
Very true. Very true. Very true.
Now, you talked about differentiation. And specifically now talk to someone that is already in business.
Yes.
How can they differentiate themselves in their brand from other businesses that are around them?
Very good question. There's a saying by the infamous Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon. He says that a brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And most of the times, people believe that me niko sawa. But zingine ni sawa ukitoka when you hear about yourself when you're outside from the outside world. And one of the things that will help you differentiate yourself from other brands, I would say it's the unique selling point. As I earlier said, you need to have a very unique selling point. Most of the times we start businesses, but ujaandika like who are your target clients. Like for instance, when you get into the shoe business, kuna viatu vijana uva na kuna viatu wazee uva. You need to identify hizi viatu nauza ni za mavijana. So if you're setting out your brand, you need to first of all understand this is my target market. And if I'm going to sell this brand to these guys, wengi wako online, utaweza kuwapata. But if unataka kuuza viatu za let's say from a demographic of about kutoka 40 kuendelea, 40 years old kuendelea, most of these people are busy, utawapata online, most likely wako job, ama they are raising their families. And if you're going to lay out a strategy on how you're going to reach them, itakuwa ni different sana na venye reach these young people. So for you to differentiate yourself from other brands is to understand your target market. In segment watu wengi wakianza biashara kwa hiyo clear. The next one is also having a clear mission, a clear vision, a clear plan on what you're doing. If someone asks you, by the way, what do you deal with, you need to have a clear way of, elaborating what you do, the solutions you provide. Kwa sababu utapata kuna mtu ataka hivi ashindwe, what is it that this person nini yako nayo inaweza solve problems market. And big brands have invested heavily billions of money in recent years just to ensure that their brands and brand reputation is up and running. We have seen a new trend where almost every content creator right now is appealing so they can be able to get the eye of brands and market for them. So for you to be able to set out a brand, you need to understand the value. The value. A brand is an asset to a business. It should be like the first asset you invest in. But watu wameanza biashara register, the first thing anafanya ni kutafuta ofisi na kulipa rent. But ajakaa chini when let's say business plan, and in that business plan kuna the brand itself, where you're laying out the foundation of that business. So the foundation bit of it is very important for you to understand that it is a valuable asset. And maybe to some extent kuna vile you need to also get the what the other people are doing. You need to understand what are the market trends. What is the need of your consumers. Usipo una try kuuza product inafaa kuuza online in an offline. Ama unauza kitu inafaa kuuza offline in an online market. Una get. Ama for instance una try kumarketia watu wako high school shamba. Na time yao ya kubai shamba, some of them might maybe in the next 10 years when they invest, you might educate them on the need of having land, but they won't buy instantly. So you need to be able to understand the market and the market trends. Yeah, then the market trends are changing rapidly. Yes.
Wow, excellent. What are the challenges of creating strong brands?
One of the challenges is being clear. A lot of people have not been in a position of getting their their business personality clear to the people out there. And sometimes it's a challenge. Kuna watu wameset like wako na logo, wako na everything has been already set. But communicating that brand voice to your client can be a bit of a challenge. Sometimes it may take, for some brands, it may take time for them to understand. For instance, Apple in early days, watu wakuelewa what it's all about, what's the whole concept of an apple, but at the end of the day, it was a simple brand for them to relate with. And as time went, the quality and the value they gave into their services and products has been able to transition to become one of the biggest brands. So you being clear is something that has been a challenge to a lot of people. The second one is we are getting a lot of brands out here who have not been able to identify their target markets. They've not been able to do a market analysis and understand who their brand represents, or rather who is their their buyers, who are the people that would like to associate with them. The other bit of it would be technology and market trends are changing rapidly. But most businesses have not been able to adapt. For example, in this new age and era, there are like methods of advertising that have been kicked out. Tambo nakumbuka ku advertise vitu kwa gazeti was a big thing. But sahi ukiweka kitu kwa gazeti probability watu kupata like hata kama unataka watu 1000 waione. On digital platforms it take a couple of minutes. Now, this change has actually led businesses to rethink on how they tailor their brands and how they tailor their brand strategies and advertising strategies. So for you to be able to mitigate through these challenges, you need to first of all consult with the right people. Najua kuna hizi post na memes mwana wanasema I know someone cheaper. Nikona the difference of the cheaper person. Usiende tu kwa mtu juni graphic design. You need to get someone who will be able to interpret your brand asset into a strategy that can be able to sell out there. Kuna challenge pia nimekuwa nikiona na watu wanaandago. Most of the times utapata mtu akianza biashara aliona market yake anauza. So the brand is not anything, but now the problem is as you're setting out a business, you need to set a legacy. Maybe if mtu ananuaga vitu kwa Wakemani because Wakemani anakuaga ameokoka na ni wa kanisa yetu, kuna siku Wakemani atakuwa na nguvu ya kwa shop. Mtoto wake akikuja watu watanunua. Nijua alikuwa na association na nani? Wakemani. So we should also think about business legacies, what you're leaving behind. And these brand assets in a lot of businesses out there. When you talk about big brands, when you transition from one generation to another, was because they valued their brand so much. It was made an asset. Some of them utapata 90% of lawsuits in the corporate world are all based on brands. Brand affiliations. Most of the times kuna hiyo watu waja understand kuna haja ya kujibrand, kuna haja ya kujipackage. Kuna haja ya hii biashara usisao ni kama mtoto. Unampatia jina, vile utamvalisha ndio watu watakuwa wanamjua. So if people are able to set out a legacy, more of a legacy than just start a business for the sake of starting, it will be more appealing. Yes.
Wow. What are the benefits? What are the key benefits of having a strong brand?
Yes. Number one, if you have a strong brand, you're able to demand its value. Hakuna siku utapata ati mtu ako pale kwa Apple Store ana bargain bei ya Apple ama ya iPhone. Kuna vile utapata mtu ako kwa maybe ya McLaren shop. Mtu ameenda Sifa hapa Kenya na kwa showroom anaona Hilux imekuwa price plan, aanze kusema pedea mwezi niuzia nusu yake. You know, when you have a brand that has been set out very well, you're able to give a premium price for the product. And mtu atakuja ku negotiate because I believe what your brand carries it is able to offer the value proposition of your products or of your services. So one of the key benefits of setting out your brand is you're able to give a premium price, of course. You're able to build your loyalty to your customers. Kuna customers watawak na brand flani for the rest of their lives. And in fact hata watatransition hiyo kitu kwa watoto wao. And actually nimeona adverts kadhaa wanatry kutuonyesha hivyo kwa adverts zao. Like this brand has transitioned from one generation to another. So that is something that you should embody as a brand as in the early stages to understand that we want to be to our customers to be loyal to our brands. So if you set it out to be a strong brand, the probability of it gaining loyalty from your customers will be higher.
Wow.
Yes. Those are some of the elements that will help you in ensuring that utakuwa na a value in the market. Another thing is it will help you to differentiate yourself from your market, from your competitors. Utapata brands mingi hapa Kenya, for example, the big telcos. Every day watatry kukwambia sisi tuko hivi, wale wako hivi. Sisi tuko hivi, wale, and they will ride on mistakes zao wengine. Una get? So if for instance umeanza brand yako leo na ukose understand what your competitors are doing, itakuwa ole kwako. So it's very good to have a market analysis and do it in as rapid as you can. And unajua brand yako iko hapo ku stand out. Hauko hapo kukua tu kama hao. Ati unaona baadhi ya watu wamepea watu maflyers hii wiki tupeane maflyers. Maybe that strategy works for them. Yako itakuwa unique. Maybe clients wako hata need flyers, wana need wapate tu in the online segments. Maybe watu wanakujaga kwako because you have a good customer experience. Wow. Your competitor anaga your customer experience. Invest more on that. Ukiona yeye ameka billboard useme I think this is my time. Yeah, so you need to be able to understand that your brand should always stand out, and the key points and the touch points of your brand in all platforms, be it offline or online, is going to stand out.
Wow. Let's go over some successful brands that are out there. Some case study of 1, 2, or 3 of them.
I think some of the biggest zimekuwa from way back then. Like PepsiCo, for instance, Coca-Cola. Those are some of the biggest brands that have been able to amass loyalty from their consumers for a long time.
Years and years.
Man, like, ukiangalia, I'm sure maybe my great-grandfather aliweza kukunywa Coke. I'm sure. Or my great-great-great-grandparents. And it's a brand to date bado tunaona kwa shelves zetu. They've been able to tie up very well kutoka way back. And personally I've been able to have a key interest on how PepsiCo came out. And I like the idea on how they advertise themselves. Back then Coke was more of old people products. PepsiCo came up very vibrant for young people, and they were able to have a segmentation of this brand represents a new energy, a new generation. So brands like PepsiCo, Coca-Cola, brands that I'm able to say that they have been able to work out very well over time. When it comes to tech, you have like in Apple, and the most recent one, Tesla. Tesla is doing very well. In the automotive world, we have Mercedes-Benz, Toyota, and as a local. I think Safaricom over time, how they've transitioned, and they've been consistent, not just in their brand as Safaricom, even in the other products that they've come out with, among them M-Pesa. It has sold out to become a very reputable brand. Locally, most likely, lazima maybe Safaricom wamefanya kazi poa.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. And also internationally, Google. I was able to follow up with the IO, which was launched recently. Yeah, they're doing an amazing job. They're an amazing job, yes.
Wow. Speaking of Coca-Cola and a unique selling point, I remember the way they sold it to Kenyans that Russian soda.
and these are they're trying to forge emotions with us. You know what? In Russia, back then, kulikuwa na ile what they used to give. But sasa in recent days tunapeana kasoda. And now they want you to understand that if it's a soda you're giving out, it has to be yeah, so they are attaching themselves to our own emotions. And Rorashios, I know you've been through such a case scenario. It's an emotional moment.
Even without, people without even knowing, they ask for soda.
Very true.
And it's just from marketing.
Very true.
Give some advice to someone out there who wants to create a brand. Where do they start?
First of all, they need to understand a brand has a start point and it's a journey. Usiseme nishamaliza kutengeneza logo sana mi branding because it's a journey. It's what people relate with every single day. Mtu akiingia kwa shop yako Kenya naona ile usafi umeweka kwa shop yako, it's part it attaches itself to your brand. Vile unavaa, vile staff wako wanavaa, vile wanaongelesha watu, that is all about branding. And for the people that are in, especially when you're kwa biashara zenye ziko chini ama ndio wanaanza startups, SMEs, ni poa waanze ku understand that kutengeneza big brand I need to go corporate. I need to go like the biggest of companies out here. You need to start from an early stage. You need to understand that hii ni asset yetu. Acha to invest here from an early stage because it goes a long way in ensuring that you remain consistent and you remain as reputable as possible, especially with your market. And it will enable you to expand your service offerings. For example, I'll give you an example of Safaricom. They came out as a more of telecommunications company. Now they've been able to get into the finance, fintech, through M-Pesa. And recently, they have even an overdraft facility for Lisa. Wanna diversify. Their service offerings is diversifying kwa sababu waliweza ku set a very strong brand. So ku set a strong brand inakusaidia pia na mahali unaelekea kama biashara. Hata kama ndio unaanza sahi, ni very important for you to understand that this is a valuable asset and you need to invest in it. Usiseme I know someone cheaper. Na kazi ya branding si ya graphic designers. They are not putting out like graphic designers. They can be able to come up with very good brands. But branding is beyond raw graphic designer. It is how you relate to your clients. It is how you communicate to them, how you communicate your values and your promises, how you deliver those promises. Yeah.
Wow, that's a very great point right there. Creating a brand will also help you in pivoting around the business. In that case scenario, I'm also remembering Equity was a bank when they opened a hospital.
Yes.
Ikashika.
Yeah, very true. The service offerings zinaenda zikishika. And kwa sababu niko affiliated to Equity as a bank, I'm able to even trust them with their hospital.
So create a brand just before you get started. There's that importance of you put that value inside the brand creation before even you go far.
Yeah.
Thank you for that wisdom. Would you kindly share with us your personal story around branding and how it has affected your own life?
So, nilianza 2013. You know, when I was starting out, I was into film and theater arts, nikiwa KU, but nilikuwa nakaribia hii interest ya understand how brands work, biashara venye zinawaka huku nje nini. Na nilianza kutembelea like different businesses. And one of my success stories is there is a restaurant, one of the big restaurants in Nairobi. I entered, just had my bag. Na I didn't like the way they packaged their items. Unajua with how they deliver, package ya kitu inaonyesha who they are. And I sat down with the owner nikamwambia, have you noticed hata quality ya your pizza boxes haiko poa? Akaniambia, do you have a solution? Yeah, I have. Let me come up with something. We see how it goes. And apparently during that time tulikuwa nimetoka expo ya China. Kulikuwa na China Expo KCC, and I had interacted with several people. One of them was there was a packaging company in China. I'll never forget. I paid for samples zitoke China mpaka huku Kenya. I had to invest in representing the idea to him practically with those samples. and that brand to date wamekuwa really transform how they have been packaging their products to date. Among them kuna jamaa tu alikuwa na visa kanambia naweza taka brand na package. I know most of my recent clients they know mtu akiniambia nitumie quotation na mbega siwezi kutumia quotation kwanza. I'm that strict. Start to make quotation. Let's first of all understand what you want. Let me get to understand what kind of business you're running. Siwezi tell make your brand kama sijaelewa wewe ni nani as a business. And we've come up with an audit where they are able to feel certain set questions which will also help us understand who they are right now and the potential they have. So part of that experience and getting to interact with the business owners to lead to understand the clear need of businesses out here. One of which kuna boys aliniambia he's a lawyer. I think we did the branding. Ilikuwa rebranding ndio alikuwa amefanywa kitu River Road mahali. Nikamwambia mazili wewe ni lawyer unatembea na kitu ikae ni kama unaweza ni represent bro. You have to change this thing, and he's very much talented. And from changing his brand it changed even how he sees himself. Ananiambia man mimi hata niliprint kadi nimepeana zote hata napatia mtu anivyo kadi. Nikikaa tu na msee na feel nipatie kadi yangu juu na feel in ndio mimi sasa. It has transformed on even how he perceives about his business. So those are some of the success stories that we've had, and also tumekuwa na a lot of success stories with our clients. Then kuna client tumefika mahali tukam disappoint. Na to us it's a relationship. We think about how we can relate to the client. We go a long way. So from the time tumefanya branding, like right now tushafanya the branding and the brand strategy. We will come back 6 months later. Call you for coffee. We think around 2 or 3 things. What kind of has it had a consumer interaction? Customers wamechukuliaje the first time umeiona? What kind of reflections have you had in your sales as much as you packaged yourself well? And if kuna adjustments in makeure, we are able to do so.
Wow. Look at the colors we choose affect our brands. Is there a relationship between color and the brand?
So color is one of the identifiers of the brand. And as earlier on tulikuwa tumesema identifiers are different assets that attribute to your brand. One of them is color. Most of the times utapata easy colors zinakuwa ni vitu watu wanakuzia. Hata sometimes mtu anasikia maybe akianza biashara, most of them wanaendaga with what is their favorite color. Maybe utapata Winnie mahali, maybe Winnie ako pale Kamaki anataka kufungua hardware anapenda pink, anasema hardware yake purple pink. But you need to understand that these identifiers zinafaa kuresonate with your values. Sisemi pink ni mbaya kwa hardware, but if your values are about reliability, about strength, about innovation, you cannot be able to work with such a color. Kuna colors zinaweza appeal towards that. For example, I'll give you a good example. Blue imekuwa hapo represent strength and security. Pink will represent hope and assurance. And a lot of companies work in your color because eco more relatable. It's one of the colors that like every single day kamuta tukainjo na color in the skies. So the color iko conversant na macho yetu. Kwa itakuwa easy kwako kurelate na your brand kwa sababu hii ni color unaweza sema by the way ni color na understand ndio nikiona. And every time we look at the sky kuna kogana especially for Christians kogana hopes. Ukiangalia juu tu, where does your help come from? Your help comes from the Lord. And you look up to the mountain, unaona the color blue ni represents that hope to most of us. And it's something that a lot of brand creators embark on. How this color relates emotionally to people. The other thing about colors, for example, during the in time elections utapata political parties wanachukua certain colors zina represent their parties so utapata even the aspirants watakuwa na hizo colors everywhere they go and with time utarealize tuna affiliate with these colors una bond nazo utapata hata sai maybe after elections 2 years later utakuwa unapata mtu kwa 2 years unafikiria tu UDA ndio kiva orange unafikiria tu ODM and this is something that inaonyesha that our emotions inaweza kuwa attached to the colors that we choose so it's very important for us to understand that color is something that it's a segment that goes along with the kind of brands you're creating and we need to be very keen on being able to highlight the values and setting out clarity on the missions and the promises we're giving to our clients in our colors. Basically, as much in graphic design, utapata we have color palettes. Utapata kuna like colors that are able to match. So if you are hiring a graphic designer, please ensure una hire mtu mwenye understand kwa hizi colors. Utapata hata kuna watu maybe wako na very strong brand, a very nice name, a very good tagline, but when imeprintwa labda kwa tisho ionekani hata. Kwa sababu ya nini? Choice of color.
Yeah, zingia rangi
zote. We need to understand gani na gani na and beyond color kuna sasa hizi elements zingine utapata kama some businesses zinakuwa na slogan or what they call a tagline kuna zenye zinakuwa na ni jina peke yake biashara yake ni jina hataki kuwe na any symbolism kuna vitu zetu motifs that zinakuwa pia part of the identifiers so ni poa sana ukaenda mtu mwenye anaweza kuguide branding iko na pia guidelines you need to have someone who can be able to have a guideline on how you set up the brand na pia iko na architecture there's a brand architecture how you're going to express this brand in different platforms
wow how do you maintain strong brands
maintaining the consistency usianze na customer service poa alafu after a while umeanza kupoteza kidogo ama maybe umeanza ukiwa una showcase transparency to your clients kidogo uko transparent about how you offer your services this goes to especially watu kwa kutupikia KDF naambia zinapikwa kwa facilities ziko safi lakini tunaona videos kwa social media is different or maybe if you're in the food industry or a restaurant so it's very good for you to be consistent in order to maintain a good brand the other one is you need to do an analysis on your market, understand where your market is and where it's going, understand the market trends, and be ready to adapt and innovate. Juu biashara venye zinaji package leo si venye zinaji package kesho. There's a very big wave right now in a move from the traditional ways to the online platforms. So usiwache nyuma, useme bedhe brand yangu itabaki tu kwa venye iko. It's good for you to be a little bit adaptive, especially when it comes to the market trends. Not every market trend will hinder your brand. I'll give you a very good example. Kuna products zenye hata paka leo hii wale watu wa package like Remis. Nimekuwa nikiona mtu anasema ili packagewe but the owners wanasema we've worked with it for a long time. It was meant for farmers. People have found it to be a good product in their scheme. And this is something that utapata for them wanasema ile kitu iko more important to us ni the quality of our product na what the kind of offerings inapatia the farmers ikianza ile with the farmers and they've not allowed the market trends hata kama kumekuwa na watu not history ya kuambia unafaa kujiri package kunini wajaenda neo shift and they're still selling same to let's say company kama Kenso ni lini uliona advert ya Kenso unanoga Kenso ndio uliona advert ya lini ni kwa sababu wamesha understand hii brand ina represent wamekuwa na wameforge emotions na watu for a long time alafu brand yao imestand out for like the longest time na we have a lot of other brands that utapata mpaka leo hii ukitaka kubuy product fulani unaita na jina ya brand nyingine juu earlier on hii brand ilikuwa strong but sasa itakuwa consistent una get for example utapata maybe kana tumiaga toothpaste fulani naita hii toothpaste na jina ya toothpaste nyingine. What does it show you? Hii product A ilikuwa imesata a very strong brand. So that hata brand nyingine ikikam nita relate na brand vile ile brand nyingine ilikuwa inaitwa. And but sasa utapata hii brand most likely wali set very strong but wako kwa consistent. Consistency is very key.
Wow. Seems like the major breaking of a brand is when people now start associating it, what the brand does with its name. For example, taxi hailing has been popularly called Uber.
Yes.
But Uber is a company.
Uber is a company. Very true, very true.
Or people say, let me Google it.
Let me Google it.
So
Hata akiwa kwa another search engine.
Instead of surfing,
yes,
or browsing.
Very true.
So inafikanga pahali kuna kuwa na hiyo replacement. Is it the epitome of marketing and branding?
I'll say most of the companies when wamefika mahali wako na hiyo reputation na wako na hiyo loyalty to clients na wameset a name that sticks to their mind mpaka wezi ona jina ingine ni kumaanisha wameset a very strong brand na this is a powerful tool ni kitu wanafaa kuichukulia kama asset na imeki kwa as consistent as possible. Kuna juzi nilikuwa there's a certain evening nilikuwa na go through one of this Instagram nini to I think all stories to guy they're posting like adverts are way back then and watching those adverts was very nostalgic for me. Ni kwa sababu hizi products walikuwa wanatuadvertise walikuwa na try to create bond like unajua branding ni kama una try kumari your product ama your brand with the consumers. So lazima uangalie every way you can be able to interact with this consumer na vile unaweza mleta close. Utapata most of these brands were successful kwa sababu wali understand. Wale tupatie adverts ziko na songs tunaweza imba mpaka leo. Una get? Walifanya tu adverts, walifanya advert yenye ilikuwa targeted to us. Like if kuna product ilikuwa outstanding back then, I think today it is the product kama kiwi. Ukiona advert ya kiwi, walikuwa na bring out watoto wa shule sana. Mimi mpaka nilikuwa na singeweza kutumia nyingine kasi kiwi. Nilikuwa na feel ni kama mtu yeye anafaa kuwa na brush yetu na juu ya nini? Wamekuwa consistent kuonyesha hii ndio brand yenu kama watoto wa shule.
Wow.
And you could see the shoes of those children kwa TV.
Wow.
Kuna ingine kuna katoe kalikuwa na brush yetu yake na socks. Akiekele hivi na shine. You know that image mpaka leo hiyo ina reflect kwa mind yangu.
Wow.
Una get? And that is how I've been able to relate with this brand and even many other people out here.
Now because of time, imagine I can see our time is far much gone here. For Christians, how do we brand our businesses to be successful out there in the marketplace and dominate in the marketplace? For Christians, we actually have a very good foundation on how we can go about it. The foundation is in the Word of God. If we can be able to bring out the values that we've been taught and the wisdom that the Word of God gives us and to lay out for businesses, I believe we will be so far. And the reason as to why a lot of Christian brands out here are not working out because sababu pia uko nje watu wako na perception. Wako na high value perception that if umse ni Mkristo hafai kwa ule mtu atamlet down. Nugget. So pia sisi uko nje tumewekewa high standards.
Nugget. So we need to be able to meet those standards and surpass them. When it comes to ethics, we need to be people of high ethical values, high ethical standards and moral values. Na kama ni trust, we need to build trust with our clients. There's a reason, kumekuwa recent theories that tunasema work na Christians imekuwa let down. I think it's a high time now for Christian brands, especially if you're a Christian and you're running a business out there. To arise. There's apostles in the marketplace who arise and kuhakikisha that we are not only evangelizing through our word but also our actions in how we do and deal in our businesses, even on how we treat our staff. Utapata kuna employees wanasemaga huyu mama boss wetu na anakuaga kwa kwaya ama anakuaga maybe elder kwa kanisa, ukikuja kwa ofisi venye anatuongeleshaga hatuwezi sema nini. So even how we act upon the people we work with or our team, the people we lead, we need to ensure that we bring in the principles that we've learned from the word of God, and of course tusisahau kudai. Hii ni kitu kingine brands inaumiza sana. Tusisahau kudai, ku honor God with our tithes and our offerings, to ensure that easy principles are passed down to people out there, such that me na pray kuna siku itafika watu watakuwa like tuna prefer work na a Christian brand ama a leader of a business who's a Christian than any other brand, because obviously values tuna set.
And we stand out even to have a greater advantage because we have the word of God, we have favor, we have grace, we have the anointing. So you just put the right mechanisms in place as a branding. Anisha, we can shoot like an arrow and dominate and rule over. Tunamalizia, tuambie, how do you recover from branding missteps?
Number one is, first of all, you need to call the right people to do the right job. Sometimes kuna watu wanasema kama hii hot and expensive, but there is a clients niko nao before to come up kupika ni mali tunafanya job, tumekuwa na meetings more to the extent hata ile time anakuja kulipia ile service tuna offer, anasema by the way there is value for money because you've been able to also help me understand where I'm going with this business. Kama singepata idea what I'm doing right now in this phase, singeendelea ama maybe ningefika mahali nianze kukwama ama maybe customers wangu wange understand hata mimi ni nini nafanya. So I think the first thing is for you to call the people, the relevant key people that unajua ni professional. Na usiassign mtu understand who you are and what your business is. Ukiona ni mtu elewi where you're going, you can experiment different people. Kuna biashara pia sisi maybe mtu kama mimi as an expert naweza kosa kwa pili kwao kwa sababu ya the kind of the kind of structure they've set. Wanaona we need maybe someone who has a wider scope on this area, for instance. So ni kwa uko na watu wana understand ile scope unayo, so that you can be able to set to pick from that mistake. Number 3 ni understanding brand asset. Si kitu tutasema nimefanya na nimemaliza, ni journey tutaendelea kuinvestia. So if umefika mahali unataka kufanya maybe rebranding, usifanye tena useme nimemaliza, endelea kuinvestia. If these values una communicate na clients, pia communicate na the team that you're leading or the people you are associating yourself with. Na pia it's very important kwa biashara zenye tuko nazo because kuna affiliations or other to build relationships with people who can help us promote our brands to the next level. For example, najua Eric hapa Chege TV na brand yangu iko hapa Kiambu na kwama, but nikicha kufikia Eric anifanyia advert 2-3 kwa Chege TV, I'm sure maybe members wenyewe kama the viewers wenyewe wa Chege TV wataweza kuinteract na products zangu ama wataona ile tunado. So ni kwa kuangalia vile unaweza forge these relationships so that they can be able to help you scale to the next level. Wow. Thank you so much, Mr. Eric. And because I know you love children, talk to aspiring marketing students. Oh God. I think it's good for you to understand that it's more practical than theoretical. When it comes to, for example, the segmentation of the market, you have to be on the ground to understand what are the market needs. Na most students unapata maybe graduate kutoka KU ama JKUAT ama local institutions, alafu ametulia tu homa na ngoja, ametuma CV several companies, apate job na ametulia tu. Akitoa job ulizwe what is our market segment ama from what are your focus, what is the sales focus you have in mind for our company in our target markets. Unapata hana answers kwa sababu gani? Hajakuwa na a practical understanding of what is marketing or what is branding or what is advertising. So ni poa for, like, if you're a student, engage with we engage in these areas in a practical way rather than kwa more theoretical. Same theory ni mbaya, and it's good for you to also learn and learn yourself. Usikwame tu hapo. For me to be where I am, kuna time nilikuwa naongea na one of the students that we are starting some classes together. Nilikuwa namwambia I used to invest almost 7 hours a day for more than 6 years. 7 hours a day in order to perfect my skill. So nilikuwa najichallenge that mtu akimaliza kampo hata kama amemaliza masters atapata niko na understanding ile kitu nafanya na pia niko na practical. So we try to balance the theory part of it and kwa streets. Ku engage even with the Somalis in the business areas, kuangalia zile nizoko nazo, and the Kikuyus in the businesses, Kalejins, kujua this is how they want to promote their products in different ethnic demographics. So ni kwa ground to understand vizuri.
Thank you so much. That has been insightful. Masando imetukimbisha. Our special thanks and appreciation to God Almighty because of giving us this day and the breath of life and even the ability and the grace to do this. We especially appreciate that. Nasemani asanti. Bishop Dr. Thomas Mudhe and Reverend Phyllis Mudhe, we especially honor you and say thank you for this opportunity. And to the entire Black FTV staff, Mungu abariki for your labors in the Lord. And to you, our viewer, you are the reason that we come to do this every morning, to be informative to you, to be a blessing to you. Everything we do around here is meant to bless and empower your life. We love you, we appreciate you, and we pray for you every day. Situonane kesho for another fantastic episode here on Uchao Don't Break Show. Asante sana Eric. Until next time.
Thank you so much.
See you.